All right, EA Ermor turned 69. Probably going to be eating another earthquake here, among other things. Yeah, we're spending all of our fire gems and some of our death gems. Let's see, bringing in some eagles, because we are hopeful that eventually we will sit on top of some Rusian forts and take them. Yeah, let's see, Dire Portent, always good news. Let's see, who is this? This is Niflheim, and this is Galegate, which I believe gives you a bunch of air gems, which is a little interesting because Niflheim doesn't get any air mages normally. Like, they have no recruitable air mages, but of course, this is the late game, so all bets are off. Also, I think, yeah, there's like hurricanes that'll happen, so we may see some hurricanes more than normal. And then our gateway into Agartha went off, and then of course we have our mine hunts. Okay, so we get a guy. I don't remember if that's actually the guy. I think he's actually been moving like maybe scouts and stuff, the same way you can kind of cheese like assassin attempts by just providing a lot of like random garbage for the assassins to hit. You can do the same thing with Mind Hunt. Yeah, so we killed 2 people, but were either of those the thugs? Not sure. So yeah, Russ doing just a really good job showing that, you can definitely deal with Mind Hunt. It is possible. And then of course, like, yeah, I think we get magic phased on. That's what this is looking like. So this is probably, something that, this doesn't actually look like magic phase. Okay, so he's just coming at one of our answers, which chose to hang out. Nice. Air elementals, swarm, so like, yeah, ooh, and howl. Very cool. And this is where his pretender went. Okay, so we're not going to get earthquaked this turn. Well, I mean, at least his pretender isn't going to earthquake us this turn. So yeah, we'll see. Air elementals are a big problem. Skeletons don't do great against air elementals. We're just pretty badly outnumbered here. So like, yeah, this is really cool stuff. He saw what I had and like chose to jump on it. And this is pretty high investment, right? It's very sad to be losing all this. Our one hope is our Troll King, who is pretty tough to take out, although, he can definitely get trampled by this number of air elementals, so hopefully he makes it off. This is really good stuff. It's also possible that, no, he's got too many bugs, and Howl is really cool too, because it just generates like so much chaff. So yeah, our fire elemental is just not going to do anything. And like, yeah, you just committed more resources. And of course, this is the advantage. Ermor, you have teleport. Looks like maybe our Troll King gets off. Nope, a wolf gets in his way. Yeah, he's going to die. So this is a lot of gear and a lot of gems for us to be losing. This is very sad. Maybe, I needed more chaff. I don't know. Hard to say. Ermor, early age Ermor has the option of teleporting, right, as its magic phase answers. But you can only teleport out like dudes in robes, right? Old men. So it's not quite the same. So yeah, that's real sad. He loses nothing. We lose a ton there. I mean, numbers wise, not that many, but what we do lose is pretty expensive. We also lose his skin shifter that we stole. That's a little sad. And then yeah, these are possibly also magic phase attacks. No, this looks like some of his mercenaries. And yeah, so he's coming after our, Flaming Arrows group. And, I gotta be honest, like, ghosts they have no protection, right? And they're ethereal, so they're not gonna care about the actual, like, sling stones. And then, yeah, some swarm. But once Flaming Arrows goes down, ooh, nice. Yeah, the swarm will help. And I think maybe some of these bugs are lucky. Oh, nice. No, they have air shield. Very cool. So yeah, we are screwed now, because Flaming Arrows is, like, kind of the one thing in this group. And this group, I was kind of more expecting, and this is, I guess, hasn't been jumped on, because there's no way that the ghosts teleported in. And it looks like, yeah, unfortunately, I think we lost an augur, or, yeah, he just got interrupted. Yeah, it looks like he took some damage from a bug. Okay, so now he's at least preparing to cast Flaming Arrows. But yeah, doing like a really good job, of just sending, garbage at us. Normally now, like, the ghosts would be in trouble, but with air shield, not so much going to be in trouble. So, Flaming Arrows is like really more of an early game thing. So this group I didn't have high hopes for, but yeah, we do lose it, and pretty much for free as well. So really getting my butt kicked here right now. Hopefully, some of these later things. Okay, this is some other mercenary groups and some Long Dead Horse and a few casters raiding out. We don't really have anything here. This is also near our capital, so he's just paving the way for his main attack. I do still have high hopes for, the battle at large. But I don't know, we'll see. We are seeing a lot more like air elementals now, and like air elementals are problematic. These are our forts, right? So his thugs, did move off, all right? So no resistance there, which is sad, because we wanted to, magic duel him. And like, yeah, this is his other thug that's down near TNN raiding forward. We these caves and stuff and the mountain passes, like he has mountain survival. So like this guy can, just move through a lot of these passes and like we can't. So it's actually gonna be really hard for us to respond to this guy. Might be worth the problem, right, is that our augurs and even our augur elders can only teleport if they have gear, right? And so like while we could teleport on this guy and then magic duel him, I guess maybe we'll bring somebody who can carry the gear. But even if we bring we teleport in an extra commander that isn't set to magic duel, so like he won't die. He kind of needs the same slots, right, that the magic duel guy is going to be using, right? Because you need the same gear, roughly speaking, to teleport in, so they won't be able to pick up. So I don't know, it's a lot of gems. Then again, this is a ton of gems too, so like maybe it is worth it. Yeah, we'll have to think about this guy because we don't really have a good answer to him just yet. And then we at least have like one attack. Oh, okay, we're going to see, did we actually kill the thug? We did. Okay, so there's just a little bit of PD here, but this is a pretty weak group, right? There's just like one bodyguard and one swarm. So, he puts luck and body ethereal, on himself and his bodyguards. But, our bug production is not fantastic. I do think this is going to work out for us. Our guy wakes back up, throws a little luck on the bugs. So yeah, this looks like, armies of Rust are routed. So that works. Hey, Swarm can work against really minimal PD. So, nice to get a win. But going back to the Rust show here, okay, this is our own water bottle, I suspect. Maybe not. Let's see. This is a water mage. Actually, I don't know where. Okay, yeah, I think the water mage is just making him. No, he only made one water elemental. Where did the other water elemental come from? That's a little confusing. So not sure what's happening here. Not actually sure which province this is either. I think this is near Agartha. Yeah, I think this is Bone Tribe near Agartha. And so these Dustwalkers have just, all they've been doing is, because they have no undead leadership, so they've just been bouncing from province to province, like setting guys on fire. Yeah, we get the route. So that's sad. We were never going to beat. Water elementals are really scary. So this level of PD, even with Bone Tribe, yeah, and he's doing some Frozen Heart here with his Water Mage. So like, yeah, very cool stuff. Relatively cheap, or at least like, not that many units. And then of course we have the battle at the fortress. This was with our army that I was expecting to get earthquaked, and yeah, he just chose to like give this up, and like it is a valuable province, but at the same time it's like he's just dismembering me like everywhere else, right? And so it's like, okay, like I take one province, he took like, I don't know, 4 or 5, like I don't you guys can count. We'll actually take a look, I think, at the province graphs. I haven't really been doing a good job of that because, in these big kind of like, this isn't even like that big, but in the bigger engagements, it can be really useful to even just look at your own province graph to see like, okay, am I ahead? Am I behind? Like, how is the war going? So we at least take that with, we lose the one long dead horseman, some slingers, like that's totally fine. So that at least works out. There's a battle in Machanka. This could be exciting because there was quite a bit in Machanka. Oh yeah, Shivalva just sending everything in, no specialized assault force. Probably won't need it. This could be a little bloody, a little bit of fire magic coming out. He's got some of these independent heavy cav, which are not great, but at least will like start to block up the gap. And then yeah, he got a bunch of body ethereal, and of course these guys have formation fighters, so they pack in a little tighter, so this kind of point buffing is a lot more effective, and it looks like that's mostly what he's using the sages for, which like, yeah, it's pretty cool because I don't think there's really like a whole lot of magic weapons in this force. The poison, I guess, but I think the poison has to, deal damage. Of course, a ton of flyers. Storm would have been nice. Not that like Machanka, I think, gets really hardly any air, if any air. But he's got like a good amount of bodyguards, I think. Actually, like some bodyguards definitely, but I think maybe like more bodyguards would have been nice, to try to keep the flyers off your mages for a little bit longer. Then again, he does really need to keep this gap closed because all this stuff gets through, and of course, summoning a bunch of undead, which is very cool for assaults. Although, he kind of has too much of his other stuff for it to matter, at least initially. But I think the flyers are going to be able to come away with it. That said, the god is pretty well positioned, not really being harassed by the flyers, and will provide, like, command for the army. So, even if he does lose all the mages back here, it's not the end of the world, but, it is a little sad. The mages, just getting to continue to blast evocations or, doing whatever, like, right while you're hung up in this gap is kind of one of the big problems with, assaulting, like, a well-defended fort. So, like, yeah, great use of the flyers here. He definitely has enough flyers that, they're not just getting cut off and wiped out. So, and quite a few of the hoplites came back to help out, and they're doing okay, right? These guys, they don't have magic weapons, like I said. So any of the hoplites that are ethereal, it'd be cool. Did he get any luck on them, I wonder? No, it doesn't. Oh yeah, no. So he got some luck. So, like, yeah, some ethereal luck spam, like, great stuff. Definitely a good idea. Unfortunately, like, with the regeneration and the amount of hit points that these Aussies have, these Machakan, like, hoplites, they just don't really deal a ton of damage, so it's very difficult for them to actually get kills. Little easier for them to kill the bats, who also, yeah, are not sacred. So, like, the bats are no doubt dying in decent numbers, and, like, he's doing a great job. Like, yeah, there's a falling fires from the god. Unfortunately, there's a lot of undead, right, that's been summoned in, so, there's a good chance that they're going to soak up some of the evocations. So that's, really well done by Xibalba, and a little sad for Machaka. And, like, yeah, now the back line here has pretty much been cleaned out, and I think the Glyph is going to die, who is probably one of, if not the last, commanders on Machaka's side. Also, he's got a bunch of these whites that look like, they were pretty far out in front, and that's definitely another way to go, right? Sending in, like, even though, yeah, he has a ton of chaff, like, some of his specialized, really hard-hitting, heavy-hitting units, these whites won't care about the body ethereal, because they have magic weapons with the Bane Blade. So, like, yeah, a good job, a decent job, a little bloody, but, I mean, with this amount of defense, like, there's no way that this wasn't going to be bloody. I don't know. Maybe there's some way you could cheese it. It's Dominions. Many things are possible, but with that amount of defenders, it's like, well, this probably isn't going to be free. But, he does come away with it, it looks like. It's taking him a second, yeah, to finish off. So let's take a look. Yeah, pretty expensive, at least in terms of raw numbers. I have to say, he actually did lose, like, quite a few Ocelotls, which, those are summons, and I think at least somewhat expensive. The Beast Bats, I think, are a bit cheaper, but, like, yeah, this is a ton of blood summons to be losing. Doesn't actually lose too many of the Sacred Scorpions. Of course, they're kind of big, and it's hard for them to fit through their gap, so I don't think the Sacred Scorpions actually really did all that much, other than get hung up on the walls. These Sun Guides, I think, are his sacreds. Yeah, the Sacred Bats, and of course, he loses only half of those, and they actually do a good amount of killing. So these Sun Guides actually doing better than I expected. Yeah, the Terracotta Soldiers don't really do a whole lot. The Whites, right, they do a good amount of killing for how many are there, and they don't actually take too many losses. And the Xibalban Warriors, like, he doesn't really care too much about these, so that's okay that he loses some of those. But losing a bunch of the blood summons does hurt a decent amount. He only loses one mage. The Kamazots, they're not too expensive. That's totally fine. Obviously, like, Machaka loses everything. The Rhino Clan Warriors, I was saying, like, they don't deal that much damage. Actually, they deal more damage. They actually do deal a good amount of damage. So my mistake, and nicely done, and, like, putting the ethereal and luck is definitely a strong strategy. And of course, because those guys pack in tighter, you can get more of them per cast. They do the majority of, like, pretty much everything. Like, the mages, get a few things, but I mean, it's like there's 25 of these mages. Yeah, they're just nature 1, right? So he probably is out of nature gems, but a little bit of swarm, like, to help keep the flyers off of his backline a little longer, I think would have been nice. But anyway, nicely done by Machaka, and a bit painful for Xibalba. And then, speaking of storms, it looks like Femoria is going in on Ulm, so we'll see. Is this the climactic battle? No. So it looks like we missed it. This is Ulm's capital, and it is empty, and, like, yeah, I think we got patrolled out at one point, at least by a force that looks pretty similar to this. Like, yeah, there's a Troll King, he's got a bunch of his Fomorian warriors and some of the Numidians and his Pretender here, and, like, yeah, he's got a ton of stuff. This is a cool army, very scary. And obviously he's going to take that basically empty fort, yeah, for no casualties, so that was nicely done. And then, there's a little bit of fighting here. This is probably also a storm, I think. Yeah, Niflheim, he's got two kings, two elemental kings. So he's got one of the fire kings, the king of magma, and one of the earth kings here, king of mountains. And, they're somewhat kitted out. And then, he's got a Scrotty thug here who can berserk, who's just got one Nifl giant as a bodyguard. That was a little interesting. And this fort is empty, so yeah, this is going to go quite well for Niflheim. And then speaking of Niflheim, it looks like this is probably some Nifl giants attacking us. Oh yeah, and some winter wolves, and since this is not our army, this looks like one of our forts based off the PD type, and this is not going to go super well. I've never seen one of these Nifl shamans before. I didn't even know this was a unit in the game. So he's a mage, a water 2 mage, which isn't super scary, but it is scary for our PD. These winter wolves, they deal a lot of damage, but they are kind of glass cannony. Of course, our PD is pretty awful, so we do kill one of them, but yeah. So this is sad, especially because now another one of our forts I think is locked down. And then some unexpected events, rumors of plague. No, but it's fine. It's only rumors. It's only been rumors so far. Please, no plague. We found, some ore deposits. That's, hey, it's in one of our capitals, TNN, so that's good. It never hurts to have a little more resources. Brigands are attacking us. This is, just one of the caves that we raided, and we left no PD, really. So our single Centurion was not able to stop these villains from taking that from us. So that is a little sad. And then Agartha has been breached, right? So we'll have to take a look at that. And then we're under siege. I think this might be our Lizard Shaman province by the Nifl giants. And we'll have to figure out something for that. So, bit of a rough turn. So I'll see you guys after the jump. All right. This is the situation and what we're doing about it. Quite a few moving pieces this turn. So we are taking a look at Russ's capital, and he's got a lot of stuff here. He's got some bone fiends, which I think actually are a blood summon. Not too many of them though, but we can see it's mostly garbage now, right? Corpse constructs, long dead horsemen, which are dangerous, but not nearly as dangerous as his sacreds. So we don't even see his sacreds listed, and in fact, we don't actually see any recruitment going on this turn, which is a good sign. Hopefully he's running out of money. Obviously, Ill Winter and Burden of Time is not great for any living nation. We do see a group of corpse constructs that have moved out, so we're going to try to assassinate that leadership. We'll see how that goes. We're going to also try to assassinate. We see some Rusian wizards probably coming down. We don't see any massive force, so it looks like this throne wasn't super well defended. Or if it was, it went somewhere else. But I think more or less we have most, if not all, of Russ's forces accounted for at the moment, which is nice. It's always a little bit of a concern when you don't have full scouting that maybe there's a huge army somewhere that you missed, but it doesn't appear to be the case. Of course, we took pretty big losses this turn, but we're not going to let that stop us. We're attacking out, so we have a couple groups. Air elementals are still going to be a problem. Fire elementals are kind of a decent answer, but in the cold, and it can just be difficult to get them to connect with the air elementals, because the fire elementals tend to, when they get summoned, they just, I don't know, they might be set on attack rear. They seem to just go. So if an air elemental drops in behind them, the fire elementals usually don't really care. So we'll see how it goes. We have this group, which is largely trolls, a few gladiators here set to hold and attack flyers. Gladiators are not great against air elementals, but, better they squish, our gladiators rather than our casters. We're going to throw out some marble warriors and weapons of sharpness. We could have our troll kings here make earth elementals, but earth elementals are even worse against air elementals, so probably better to just get our protection up in general. We also have a skeleton maker here, and then we have some magic duel mixed in. That's the other big thing, pretty much magic duel everywhere. And just a little bit of frozen heart spamming, and then we have the flagellants. They're also going to hang out and attack flyers. Just simply numbers against air elementals can really help. So we got 40ish, close to 50 units, right? It depends on how many air elementals we're up against, so we'll see. We're also hoping, of course, that the magic duel eliminates some of the air elemental summoners, before they're even able to pull that off. I think there's a decent chance that Russ actually like pulls back here because, of course, he has a lot of stuff in his capital. And, he just recently had my forts locked down, so unless he was also using some scrying spells, which is completely possible, but if he wasn't, then he wouldn't really necessarily know how much stuff I had in here, right, because I'm doing a lot of summoning. Like, about the gladiators, but, the trolls and, like, the long dead horsemen, I'm kind of, summoning in every turn. But if he may choose to combine, and certainly if the skin shifters move over to support these ghosts, I don't have like super high hopes for this group, and maybe shouldn't be risking both Troll Kings. We'll see. I might actually switch that. We do want to lose the Trolls, though. We want to get the Trolls into combat because we're super broke. These Trolls are so expensive. We can't actually do like full mage recruitment. 48 gold a year, like per Troll. And of course, those aren't our only Trolls. We also have a group of Sea Trolls moving up, and then another group of Sea Trolls that we just summoned in that are moving up. So most of our money is going to Trolls right now, which is not ideal. We're really more interested in the casters that they come with. But, hey, we got the Trolls. We'll send them into combat. So, if the Trolls die, right, that's really kind of upside. And then we have this other group here. Like I said, there's a good chance that this group doesn't hang out and that we don't actually make contact. But if we do, we're going to try Foul Vapors, right? So I said I had some plans for his Sacreds. We're going to gas them. That's the plan. Real simple. The Roost player probably knows that Ermor can do this. He's seen my Lars in combat, so he knows that I have that cross path. And he seems experienced enough and good enough that he's probably aware of early age Ermor's capacities. But Foul Vapors is pretty difficult for early age Ermor to, use effectively, to combine with. Like, obviously, the Augurs and the Augur Elders, like, really don't like that. The Legionaries don't like it. And I haven't been using it, right? So, now we're switching gears. Nothing here other than the Trolls. The Trolls won't love the poison, but with the regeneration, it's fine. And like I said, we don't mind losing the Trolls. They're also just here as a battery. I've talked about how Trolls aren't great for like a Soul Vortex, fatigue battery. But, we got them, right? We didn't get them for the Soul Vortex battery, but we got them, so sure. But nothing here in our army cares about poison. Neither will the fire elementals. Now, this may not be enough stuff, but I think, we're going to be able to blast out a good amount of fire elementals, and like the fire snakes are going to take a second to kill. And then also the nice thing about these guys is they summon in a few Will of the Wisps. And those come from the edges of the battlefield. They can even come from the opponent's side. So there's a decent chance that like some wisps get in there and like hopefully interrupt some casting or tie up some air elementals. So I think we have enough stuff here, to keep his Sacreds busy, because Foul Vapors is not going to kill them quickly. But I do think there's a good chance that, he won't be casting any poison resistance, right? Like, we know that, he's using his nature magic here in this battle for Howl. And, he doesn't have, like, a ton of casters here. Doesn't have a ton of nature casters. So, if we do bump into his Sacreds here, I think we have a pretty good chance of killing him. I am leaving all of our gladiators at home here, which is a pretty significant component of our force. They'll probably move out next turn, assuming, not everything goes badly. Not a safe assumption. But obviously the gladiators, they don't like poison, and especially they're pretty much, even if you manage to get Serpent's Blessing, which is, a battlefield-wide poison resistance spell, it's not perfect protection. And considering that, if a gladiator takes a hit, then his service is done. So, if you're using Foul Vapors with gladiators, you're kind of guaranteeing, right, that no more gladiators at the end of that combat, like no matter what happens. So we would prefer to hang on to those gladiators. Although, here we are using Foul Vapors with a ton of gladiators. So, this is his main group of Sacreds, right? Once we eliminate this, like, I mean, okay, he's got like, it claims 30, but probably not. He's probably got like 20 skin shifters here. Like, we'll see. Probably the scout report's wrong. I'm gonna eat my words, and he's got like 50 skin shifters here, but I don't think so. So this is like really the main group of skin shifters. It says 140, but like a lot of that is corpse constructs and bears and stuff. And we're actually gonna break siege and Sally here, even though he's cracked, and there's a decent chance he's going to be coming in, because I really want to force this battle. I think we're gonna hammer him here, and I mean, I could be wrong, but so what do we have? What do I think we're gonna hammer him here? Well, all these guys are gonna blast out just like all the fire elementals. It's just like Fire Alley right here. That's why we have this big gap, because the fire snakes, they're just gonna run forward. These guys don't really care too much about the heat auras, especially the flame spirits, and so we just, all the fire stuff right down the middle. The gladiators are gonna hang out, right, hold and attack rear, and we've got some augurs here that aren't part of a communion that are just going to spam out body ethereal, right, because he doesn't have magic weapons, so that's going to be a bit annoying for him. And then we do have like a modest communion, 6 communion slaves, which we are almost assuredly going to burn out. So, that's a little sad, but I do think it's worth it. We are going to throw out Serpent's Blessing, right? So we're going to try to protect our guys that, can't handle poison that well. And then, of course, we are doing Foul Vapors here as well. So if all the fire stuff, the fire snakes and the fire elementals, if somehow they don't work, I think Foul Vapors will definitely do the trick here, just because it'll take them a while, to kill all of this stuff. And then, of course, we have a few of our sacreds going to hold an attack rear. Hey, what the heck? And I think the gladiators are going to do decently well. And then the main other thing that our communion is doing is we're going to get up Will of the Fates, right? So luck on everybody who's living. Anti-magic, hopefully, which is going to help against the Blood Vengeance. It's a little late in the script. We do have a lot of twist fates, so the communion is like slightly delayed. This is in a cave. Earthquake is absolutely a possibility. And then we also have mass regeneration coming out of our communion, assuming the communion doesn't collapse. Now we do have 6 communion slaves, right? So 4 is the number that we need to pull off our spells. So we can still lose like 2 augurs, as part of the communion, and, have all of our spells go off. So, we'll see. I have pretty high hopes about this battle. I think in the north, it's a lot more dicey. So, but of course, the other thing, right, our army is in motion here. So, in a couple turns, we're going to be sitting on top of Helheim. And, like, I think regardless of kind of how the rest of this, I can't imagine that even if he wins this, there's not going to be a ton left. So I just don't really think we're going to face a lot of resistance. Unfortunately, like, Ubar does seem to be doing like quite a bit of foreign recruitment here out of this province. So next turn I'll contact Ubar and let him know, like, hey, look, I got to move through this province because it's the only way out of these gosh darn caves. Speaking of these gosh darn caves, this assassin is backtracking again. I've really blown this. So yeah, this cave, I mean, it does connect to this province, but of course this mountain pass is closed and our assassin doesn't have mountain survival. It's funny, I was fighting with I have multi-province like move turned on, and when I was telling the assassin before to like move to this throne, he wanted, to loop through like Russ's territory, and I'm like, no, like we can go through our territory. That'll be safer. Should have listened to the algorithm there. So that's what I've done here. I've told him, look, I just want you to get onto that throne province, and he is going to navigate, since I think, he can't possibly do a worse job than I've been doing. But at least our army will be out of these caves soon. We are starting to lose a decent number of guys to disease and the aging, of course, but we have enough stuff here. I had to rejigger the communion a little bit. The decent chance is going to burn out now, as we start to lose more slaves. Like I said, I did build in extras. Sadly, I was hoping this was like a Rusian fort, because, even when they're palisades, they get the full commander point bonus, but this is just a regular palisade, so we can actually only recruit an augur here every other turn, which is not ideal. We may upgrade it, but since we're super broke right now, we may never upgrade it, so that's unfortunate. We do still, get a lot of gem income. It's kind of nice too, because like these villains like cut off some of our provinces, so normally like we wouldn't draw. There's no income really to be drawing from these caves, and sadly this just allows us to recruit cavemen and doesn't actually give us a gem. But hey, at least these 2 gems are actually connected to a lab now. So, it's always nice to have forts, and we were able to do some gem resupplying, although, starting to run low, despite all the extra gems that we got. And then we are going to clean out this horror, because, we need to, like, this guy's probably going to come here and take this province, and, like, this is, of course, where the horror cult is, that's the only way for us to get into these caves. We can't get into these caves otherwise. So we're going to need to deal with this guy. And, we're a fire nation. We're going to press that fire button some more. So, we're going to summon in some fire elementals. We're going to do some incinerates, and, we're going to pump out some skeletons for cover. I think this is going to be enough. I don't know, maybe not. Like, Gore-Tide horrors are kind of scary, right? The really high regeneration means, you need to do a lot of burst damage quickly. Incinerate is good at that, and fire elementals deal a lot of damage. But, we're only going to be making like 2 fire elementals, I think. Yeah, so there's going to be 2 fire elementals. So, we'll see. We're really going to be leaning on these incinerates. It's not impossible that this group bounces, but, we could send more, I suppose, but you know what? Hey, we'll just throw an extra fire gem on these guys. And they can, if it starts going bad, hopefully they'll make another fire elemental. So, and then, from there we can we'll raid back this, and, we'll probably try to meet this guy here. And we are sending, of course, a magic duel guy. He's just going to be part of the communion for now, since we're not, expecting to actually bump into this fellow. But when we do, magic duel, it will separate him out from the communion. And we got a guy with magic duel. He's just going to slow walk, and hopefully eventually connect. Magic duel here. We're patrolling on almost all of our forts for magic duel. These augurs, floating around magic duel. So yeah, we're really going to try to get rid of those raiders. Also, the mine hunt battery is going after these guys. This hydromancer sadly is a mercenary, like Russ, doing a really good job. So it's like I'm wasting gems on mind hunt, to kill one of his mercenaries, which meh, he doesn't care too much about. He's going to lose him in like a turn or two anyway, unless he pays him more money. Yeah, so three turns he's got, I think, on this fellow. But we're hoping that actually, no more turns. And then we're sending just a few legionaries, to try to recapture this. So trying to do some more raiding, and then there's a little bit of swarm, the villains shouldn't be able to handle that. And then significantly less summoning, right? A lot of our fire elementals a lot of our fire gems are becoming fire elementals this turn. And then recruitment, we've got some augurs, kind of close to the front, but there's at least a couple of forts, no augur here, no lizard shaman, sadly. Like I said, most of our money is indeed going to trolls. And then in terms of the wider world, we don't have a ton of sight going on. Most of our scouting is, focused on Russ. I haven't talked with Femoria yet. They are still, sort of cleaning out Ulm, but that's pretty much done. So, we're just sending our scouts up north to see hey, is his army moving in our direction? And as long as it doesn't move in our direction, then he can kind of do whatever he wants. If it does move in our direction, I'll probably hit him up and be like, hey, so what are your plans? And then of course, the Niflheim-Therados conflict is ongoing. I think in the general chat, it sounds like, Therados is thinking that there's a good chance Niflheim is going to win. Based on having played with both of the players before, my money is on Niflheim. But, like I said, Therados has a fairly strong position since, they have the underwater for the most part, although of all the early age underwater nations, Therados is actually probably the weakest underwater, and Niflheim is actually decently strong underwater for a land nation, so maybe not as much of an advantage as it might normally be. And then of course it'll be interesting to see what Xibalba does. Xibalba in the game chat, very sad. Apparently bat people, their lifespans are not that long, so burden of time is really painful for them, and they're also cold-blooded. So Hill Winter also very painful. So they're getting hit with the double whammy. It's probably actually worse for them than for me, and it's pretty bad for me. So my heart goes out to Xibalba, even though they are a terrifying blood power in the late game, and this is the late game. But yeah, they have a decent amount of territory. They still have a pretty large and scary army. They probably have other armies, so it'll be interesting to see what they choose to do. If they maybe just try to eat a smaller power like Calum, if they maybe try to jump in against Therados, Theos or Niflheim, or like, yeah, they have a pretty big border with Femoria, who's free now. So yeah, I think that more or less covers it. Research, of course, dropping precipitously, and probably will continue to drop as, we mobilize more mages and aren't able to replace our losses as quickly, and, fellows die of old age. Speaking of old age, actually, this doesn't really matter that much, but, I was kind of sad when I was looking through this army, and I was like, oh man, like, our Equite are just going to be, even worse off because recuperation stops working once you become old, right? So once they hit old age, like these guys, one of their major advantages, they have recuperation, gets rid of afflictions, and, it's like extra sad, like, man, Burden of Time is really just, making this army so much worse. But turns out these guys don't get old until 90. So pretty much none of our Equite are old, or really even that close to being old, even the guys, that have been around for a long time. So, that definitely warmed my heart, and just, another instance where Equite of the Sacred Shroud are awesome. So yeah, I think that covers turn 69.